Greetings, fellow songwriters and seekers, and welcome back to Muse and Measure, where we tackle life's existential and spiritual conundrums through the practice of songwriting. And if you'd like to deepen your songwriting and your spiritual work in relation to songwriting, click the little guide down below on the lotus petal and join us on this journey. Today's question comes from Broomfield, Colorado. Joseph asks, how can using a persona help with songwriting? As Oscar Wilde once said, give a man a mask and he'll show you who he is. Excellent question, and I think an amazing tool for really opening up all kinds of possibilities to get over yourself spiritually and to expand the possibilities creatively in your songwriting or any type of creative writing that you're doing. And I'll just go over how this is so freeing in a couple little bullet points here. First of all, it allows you to have some distance from your own emotions and your own experience, so you can really be kind of radically honest about it. We have these little editors in our heads, little censors in our head that are trying to keep our ego, our persona in the world intact, and are constantly concerned about what other people think of us, and putting our best foot forward and presenting ourselves to the world. We have this little image in our head that we're worried about. So as we're writing and being creative, that little editor's up there like, I don't know if you want to say that line. That's a little embarrassing. I don't know what your mom would think of that, or your girlfriend, or whoever, or your kids. But when you're writing from a persona, an alter ego, a different character, you're free, and that censor can just shut up because it's not about you. This is about this character that you've invented. Okay, you can say it without fear of judgment from other people or self-judgment. Okay, it also really expands your narrative possibilities. You can go beyond what you have experienced in your life to some other completely different realm. You can completely take on a different lifestyle or different life experiences. When we think about David Bowie, who was David Jones, grew up in the suburbs outside of London. I visited his house back in April, where he grew up. Yeah, just a nice suburban life. But when he adopted Ziggy Stardust, this figure based on Jimi Hendrix slightly, but also on some kind of alien being, all of a sudden he had this character that could tap into space aspects and alien and being this being from another planet, which allowed him so much creative possibilities and to expand his narrative way past the suburbs of London and what it was like to be David Jones. Okay? Bob Dylan also did this with many of his songs, adopting persona, like Hurricane, where he's singing about social injustice. He's not singing about his own life, he's singing about other people's lives. But Bob Dylan himself is actually a persona created by this guy Robert Zimmerman, and constantly changing mask. And what has intrigued audiences so much about Bob Dylan is because he is this constantly morphing persona that no one can quite pin down. As soon as they pin him down as a protest singer, he becomes a rock and roller. And then he becomes a country guy. And just constantly shifting, and people can't pin him down because he thinks of himself as a persona, or at least Bob Dylan as a creation of his own imagination. Beyoncé had Sasha Fierce as a possible character as well. So it expands out of your normal. You don't have to be writing your autobiography through your songs anymore. You can be somebody else. And this bypasses your ego, and you can access something that's much more universal, because you are tapping into something that's beyond your own experience that we tend to think of as just very specific, either shameful or out of pride, that we think about our own life and our life story as being so individual. We don't like to think of ourselves as being archetypal or being similar to other people in a way that it just makes our life boring and just a cookie cutter life. Through writing from a character, you are accessing something that's much more universal, also because you are acting as an author, like a god looking down on this scenario, and you have much more control, but you also have a greater perspective. And so this person maybe who's going through a heartbreak, you're not writing about your own heartbreak, you're writing about the character, so you can also be wise. So it's also therapeutic and very spiritual because it gives you that perspective which is out of the kind of very tunnel-visioned, egoic perspective on life. because you were writing about somebody else. And then maybe you'll be able to reflect that on your own experience and go, well, maybe I can take a step back and look down on that from the same greater expansive point of view. Okay? It expands lyrical invention, because you can be much more hyperbolic, you can exaggerate, you can lie, you can be much more enraged or much more intense about your experience through the lyrics than you would feel comfortable if you were singing from your own point of view. Think about like someone like Johnny Cash. I happen to be wearing a shirt today. In Folsom Prison Blues, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Okay? Now, we don't think that Johnny Cash actually did this, but he created this persona of this kind of outlaw, renegade, someone outside of society who is, I don't know, kind of like an Alfred Jarry character who's just doing these intense things just for the feeling of it, just to feel alive. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Now, Johnny Cash himself wouldn't do this, but this writing from a persona allows him to go into these intense realms, which actually connects to kind of part of his cultural milieu that he lived in, and the intensity and dissatisfaction with life that people had. So it really allows him to tell some truths about the mental conditions and emotional conditions of himself and people around him through something that's much more intense. And it really kind of makes those lyrics that much more powerful than just saying, oh, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling dissatisfied because I don't make enough money, and I feel like people treat me like dirt. Okay? And then lastly, when you create these persona, they can be vehicles for whole albums and whole fountains of creative outlet. So you could write a whole album from this character's point of view, or have this character come up again and again in different songs. You know, just like Ziggy Stardust did for David Bowie. So these are all different ways that writing from a persona, from a different character's point of view, really kind of free us to express maybe not what is something that we are directly tapped in with ourselves, and maybe to reveal certain things about our own personality and what's going on inside for us spiritually and emotionally through writing through somebody else. And that may be revealed in the process. Or it's just kind of fun to do that. So I have a short where I have a writing prompt for this, so I'll put the link for that down below. If you'd like to try this out, I highly recommend it because it's a lot of fun and very freeing to not have to be just writing about boring old me once again. All right. Well, if you have any questions or comments, please put them down in the comment section below, or if you want to email me directly, it's tyler@museandmeasure.com. But until next time, best of luck with your songwriting, and I'll see you soon.